welcome back. Joining me in the studio now is Lieutenant Colonel Kenya Cologne, a Security Cooperation Officer. Welcome, Lieutenant Colonel Cologne, and thank you for participating in this testimonial video. Can you please tell us how many years you've been a Foreign Area Officer and some of the regions, countries you've been assigned?
Yes. Well, I was selected in 2011 for the Foreign Area Officer program, and from there I went to DLI to learn Portuguese as I already knew Spanish. I did 6-month immersion in the region through Brazil, Chile, and Peru. Then I returned to Monterrey for a Naval Postgraduate, a 1-year master's program. And from there I went to my first assignment in Guatemala as the Air Force Section Chief. And then left to go to Colombia as the Chief of Security Assistance Management Office to oversee all the foreign military sales and training for all the services there. And since then I've been working at Air Forces Southern in Tucson, Arizona.
Can you briefly describe some of your job duties as a Security Cooperation Officer?
Sure. Well, as a member of the Security Cooperation Office, we train and equip the partner nation as dictated by the annual National Defense Authorization and Appropriations Act. The activities can be funded by the United States, the partner nation, or at times both countries. Training opportunities include technical training and professional military education. Equipping can be the acquisition and sustainment of defense assets and related services necessary for the partner nation to maintain security within or near their border, as long as the intent meets UNIS priorities.
As a Security Cooperation Officer, what would you say you spend the majority of your time on?
There are many textbook answers, but without a doubt, putting out fires consumes most of my time. In the simplest of terms, I've often had a list of tasks I plan to accomplish in a day, but by the end of the day, I may have completed a few, if any, but somehow my list doubled. As in any job, there's a battle rhythm, expected timelines, and periodic tasks with suspenses. However, your input is valued by many entities. Some unexpected fires that will require attention are requesting the Ministry of Defense or American Consul to expedite documents required for a partner nation student to depart for a TDY on time, reacting to support partner nation or U.S. forces during an unfortunate event such as an accident, a death, or natural disaster, short notice requests for information to support the ambassador, component, or combatant command also come up. There are so many scenarios and different levels of severity that you may never expect, and they will interrupt your already full schedule, but you must arm yourself with as much knowledge and resources ahead of time to best react as needed.
It sounds like you face many challenges in your position, but what would you say is the most challenging aspect of your job?
I would say there are 2 parts to that answer. First was the learning curve during the first year as a Foreign Area Officer. In particular for me as an Air Force Section Chief, was quite humbling. Each country, each agency, and each personality in our profession will dictate a different approach. When I meet new FAOs, this is the initial advice I share with them. It's understandable to feel overwhelmed, and it's perfectly acceptable to ask questions. Security cooperation is a conglomeration of many components, where many senior military and civilian personnel who have been in the business for several years haven't dealt with everything, therefore don't know the answers to everything. Yet as FAOs, we often feel like we should have an answer for every component of security cooperation. The second part to that is reminding myself that I'm working in a different country with a different culture, and what I find acceptable or expected may not be so for the partner nation with which I work. And that's why diplomacy is key to finding the balance and furthering U.S. interests with the parameters of the partner nation.
What education or training most helped you in your current job?
There are some basic courses, such as the Joint Foreign Area Officer Phase 1 and those from the Defense Institute of Security Cooperation Studies, that set a foundation for basic expectations. But there are so many issues, both positive and negative, that cannot be accounted for in the finite training available. Nothing replaces experiences that build your knowledge and confidence. It's difficult to memorize everything about the profession. Therefore, as I continue to learn, the key is having a network of people that can assist and sources to reference.
What education or training did we miss in the Foreign Area Officer Development education, and what do you wish you knew more about before your first position?
I believe the community needs to do a better job in communicating with new FAOs during their initial accession and as they transition into their first position. I'm a proponent of sharing organizational charts of all counterpart headquarters, such as the component, the combatant command, and SAF-IA, as a starting point. There were so many positions I didn't know existed when I first started that I could have made my job easier and more effective. Don't limit yourself to Air Force entities. Get to know how you can work with other services and agencies in the embassy. Collaborative funding reduces government costs and ultimately benefits the partner nation. For the officers sitting at a headquarters, don't wait to be asked, because the person who needs your advice may not know you exist or how you can help. Reach out as soon as you know there's a new officer in your region and maintain periodic contact. We should be the first to help each other out within our own community.
Have you made time for language sustainment? And if so, how have you balanced work, personal time, and language requirements?
Well, I already knew Spanish coming into the program, but the Air Force taught me Portuguese at the Defense Language Institute, DLI. It's been easier to build on my Spanish after working in Spanish-speaking countries, but what has been more difficult is maintaining Portuguese at the level I had when I left DLI. I make an earnest attempt to watch and read the news, as well as watch shows and movies in Portuguese. That has helped, but what I need most is the personal interaction that requires me to think of prompt and thoughtful responses without replaying a scene or the luxury of referring to a dictionary. In the few and infrequent opportunities I have to practice Portuguese, I am now more timid than I was when I first started learning. I encourage all who have learned a language for FAO program to shed your fears and practice your opportunity at any opportunity available.
Is there any additional advice you would give to FAOs in training?
There are a few key points. Begin to build your FAO network early. Even if the officers are from other regions and other sister services, you may have some issues that other countries have already dealt with from which you can learn, as opposed to trying to resolve it on your own. Seek out Air Force mentors early in the FAO program, as well as in your primary AFSC, so that they can advise in your dual-track career progression. Keep your records up to date. You often won't have a local personnel office supporting you, therefore you will have to be diligent about taking care of yourself. After your first FAO assignment, seek opportunities where you can marry your primary AFSC and FAO in positions that are not technically FAO, but will give you a unique advantage over your peers. Lastly, learn as much as you can about the countries you work with. We all join because of our curiosity and eagerness to work with other countries, and there's so much positivity we can assimilate. One thing I guarantee you, you will never be bored in this job.
All right, thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel, for your input.